Shut up and sit down.
Welcome into another Red Out podcast. I am your whisper host, Jake. Devin, how we doing tonight?
We're doing a lot better.
A lot better.
I am your yelling in your ear guy, and Jake is the whisper, so...
Yeah, our recording is crap, but whatever. It's fine. We're still here.
If you hear whispers telling you to burn things, that's not Jake.
Well...
Just want to clarify.
Jake, but, you know.
It could be. If it's your bracket, then it probably needs to be burnt.
Yeah, if it's your bracket, I'm telling you to burn it because you have already lost. You're not getting $1 million a year from Warren Buffett for life. Sorry.
No. That went out the window, and I think that is the funniest thing. But we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah. So where are we going to start?
Let's start with baseball.
Okay.
I guess we could kind of talk a little bit about softball knocking off Jacksonville. Way to go, Lady Tops.
Right.
Jacksonville State cut the deficit to 4 in its final trip to the plate. And looks like Western took it away. Western won. Go ahead.
Did you hear what happened to Jacksonville State?
No, what happened to Jacksonville State?
So I saw where a lot of the mid-major schools, especially us having the connection to Ray Harper, who coaches basketball down there, a tornado actually tore through their campus and destroyed quite a bit of their facilities and buildings. So they've actually started a Twitter kind of donation campaign. You can send donations to the Jacksonville State Athletic Department. They're taking donations to try to help rebuild their basketball. Some of their facilities have holes in the roof, all this crazy stuff. It's really sad.
Oh yeah, that's awful. I mean, anytime something like that happens to a small school, I mean even any school, but much less a smaller school like Jacksonville State, you feel for those guys and girls that have to deal with that. So prayers go out to them. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
Not to bring it down. But
No.
You are listening, and you want to donate to Jacksonville State, get Ray Harper's guys a place to practice. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hey, y'all go right ahead and donate. I'm sure we can link out the donation thing on our Twitter. So,
yeah, we sure can.
Let's see. Another quick note. Let's see. Baseball lost to Louisville. Number 15 Louisville was too much for the Tops. That's kind of a double. It's kind of a double-edged sword for Jake because one side your team won and one side your team lost. But
Well, always Tops first over everything. Always, because that's Dad worked there for 27 years, so I have to. My loyalty is always to Western first. The sad side was just because Western was up in the 8th inning by quite a bit, and then we just don't have a closer, man. We don't have a closer.
And that's the bad part is we won. Well, I say we won. We basically won the game against UK and then just tripped. Tripped at the finish line, really. And it sounds like we kind of did the same thing against Louisville.
Yep, against two ranked teams within a couple weeks of each other. Sad.
Yeah, Louisville scored 5 runs in the 8th to beat Western.
Yeah.
Good gosh, guys. And that was at home, too. That makes it even worse. Yep. Hey, guys, we talked about you last time. And y'all had a great run, so we're just going to stand behind you. We're going to keep up the optimism. Sunshine and rainbows here. Anything baseball can do will be a good thing for Western.
Seriously, after a 15-win season last year, which is really, really bad baseball, man, I'm just happy to see the program moving forward.
Well, and at the same point, baseball historically has 200 games a year, right?
They play buku games.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's worse than the NBA, but at the same time, it's the sweet stuff. They at the same time, 15. Gosh, guys, but it's kind of like extra credit. The baseball team keeps pushing and keeps doing well. Then it makes us look better, and so go guys.
That's absolutely right.
We got some spring football news. Let me pull that up real quick.
That's some pretty interesting developments over there.
Looks like Sanford is making some staff adjustments. I don't see anything as far as hire fire, but
no, doesn't look like that. It looks like just kind of a shakeup of who's going to do what.
Exactly. Looks like Coach Sanford is going to do the play calling, which makes sense.
I hope that last year was, it's like Junior Adams, the offensive coordinator. just doing the best that he could, and Sanford kind of playing game manager.
Yeah.
But we'll see this year. That's an interesting thing. I was under the impression that he already kind of ran the offense. I'm not on the sidelines, so I can't tell. But it'll be real interesting to see if there's any change in, tempo or play call or stuff like that.
And we kind of butted heads about that during the season, that it was the OC, the offensive coordinator, who's actually making calls, and it's Sanford's system. And I want to say that Taggart did this his second year. I may be wrong, but he kind of stepped in, was like, for me, it's like, okay, guys, you basically spent like 6 days as a 12-year-old creating your Madden playbook on Madden, and then you're like, hey, Jake, I just made this. Why don't you run it, and I'll do the defense? And it's like, no. Because when you create something like that, you know who your best options to throw to are. You know the ins and outs of your playbook, and when he hands it over to Adams, it's kind of like, I don't know about this.
I've always thought that was sort of an interesting dynamic about how some coaches, like for instance, Dabo Swinney at Clemson is very much a game manager. He's the CEO of the football team, and he has his offensive coordinator, his defensive coordinator. He just kind of oversees things. Whereas you've got a guy like Bai Petrino, who just runs the offense, or Jeff Brom, who just runs the offense, or Nick Holt, who just runs the defense. I'm hopeful for the new season, but I'm not super hopeful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of echo that in some aspects. I have that eye on the prize, go for the gold thought, but at the same time, it's kind of like, hey, let's build on last year. It was pretty low last year as far as things go, but let's get 2 or 3 wins above that. If we get 8 wins this year, I think that's a good win for Western football.
I mean, considering what happened last year, yes, I believe that an 8-win season next year would be...
And a bowl game win.
And a bowl game win, yes. If you go 8 in a bowl win, not just an appearance, like 8 in a bowl win, okay, that... I'll grant you that would be a step forward, especially considering that just how bad last season was.
It was atrocious. Granted, it was atrocious. I agree 100%. There's no argument for me here. I tried to be positive as much as I could throughout the season, and even going into the bowl game, but losing to Georgia State, and it's as much eating crow as you possibly can.
Yeah, really.
But hey, it's spring ball, so not a lot of pressure.
Hope springs anew.
Yeah, exactly. Spring ball is kind of the laid back time to work out some quirks and kind of see where everybody's at. Looks like we're going to have 2 coaches taking over special teams, Morris Kroom and Jamie DeBerry. I know Jamie DeBerry. He's a great guy, a lot of energy. He apparently coaches the safeties. He played, I want to say safety or corner at Western way back in the day, yes. Kenny Martin played defensive line when I was at Western, and he's going to be helping the D tackles, which that's where he played.
That's good.
Let's see. Trying to kind of skim this real quick. Offensive lineman Rusty Stats, true freshman from Watertown, Tennessee, has joined the program and is now enrolled. So that's awesome. He came in. He's a former 2-star prospect at Watertown High School that signed with the Naval Academy in 2017 and spent last season at Navy's Prep Academy. 6'5", 265 tackle.
Cool.
So he's got the height. That's good. He's going to have some more weight on him. And like I've preached last season, if he gets in, that's not a good thing. But
you don't want
a freshman going in there.
Not babies.
Because he can get hurt, and you don't want that. You want this guy to develop and maybe go in for a series, but not start. I'm sorry, guys. Western has 1 scholarship available toward the 18 signing class, and hoping to fill that need with a linebacker, it looks like. So
yeah, we are not, with Iggy leaving and going early to the draft, we are a little thin at line, and some graduates, so we're a little thin at linebacker. Also, what some people are talking about is that we did have some, we had some turnover, between Forrest Lamp and Halpin and left. So, okay, that's part of your line gone. So we had some new guys step up this last year, but we had some more seniors graduate and leave. So now we're going to have to fill more holes on the offensive line. And so that makes me a little nervous coming into the season because we know that we couldn't establish a running game nearly all season. So I'm hopeful that this year they'll have it together, but you can't ever tell.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't quite remember exactly where the seniors were that left, but I want to say we had a freshman tackle starting. Was it left tackle or right tackle? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't either, but you're right. There were more young guys than we should have had on the offensive line for sure.
Yes, and that, of course, that backs up the needing the run game, which we definitely needed the run game.
Yeah, we have got to get a run game established.
And
we have 4 decent running backs kind of in the stable who can take a lot of snaps and keep it fresh. Just got to have holes for them.
Yeah, got to have holes for them, and got to develop their field of view, I guess is the best way to describe that. Because, I mean, you watch it, and I don't know what they're seeing, and they, of course, they're collegiate athletes. They may be considered amateur, which is a separate debate. But anyway, when you're running a zone, like a lot of those plays look to be, you need to cut it out. You want to go out where there's a corner, not in where there's 10 more guys.
We seem to run into brick walls all year long.
Yeah, they seem to. They would clear about 4 or 5 yards minus a couple players, and then they'd trip over the line. Basically, is what it looked like to me.
Yeah, a lot of times. A lot of times.
And I'm being positive with these guys. We're supporting you all the way. But it's just a few gripes that we have. We got a gripe. Sorry, it's part of it. Part of being a fan. And we encourage all of our fans to be positive to our players, especially on social media. These guys see these things.
Dumb. Do not yell at players on Twitter. That's the dumbest thing. Don't tweet recruits. Don't tweet negative things at players. That's, oh my God.
Yes,
no.
And that is my biggest complaint with Big Blue Nation. Okay, I am on the fence on Big Blue Nation. Okay, I cheer for the Cats. I will pull for Louisville, which is a little different than cheering. But that gripes me so much when these 18-year-old kids are being recruited and people start going after them. Or these 18-year-old kids are playing a basketball game, which, by the way, should never be taken so seriously in anything, minus, especially life. And you're going on Twitter and yelling at kids. You know what, dude? You need to get a life. So
yeah, seriously. I love the positive retweets. On our Twitter, we have a good back and forth with a lot of the players, congratulating them, sharing really cool GIFs, and all.
Yeah, making up awards for them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Be positive. Be happy. Yeah, right. His parents retweet. That was so good.
That is so much fun. And I hope our listeners understand that the red-out offensive and defensive thing for football is not substantiated at all. If you had that in a cup of coffee, you basically only have a cup of coffee. So
yeah, absolutely. It's just for fun.
It's just fun. We're just throwing it out there that, hey, we support the guys, want them to do well. Speaking of do well, I'm going to go ahead and transition for you to Tops going to New York City. Going to the Big Apple.
Square Garden run.
I know, I'm so excited. I didn't have a lot to do with basketball when I was at Western, but these guys are doing great, and I am so happy. And I hope they keep it up. I even had, it was even great today listening to KSR. They don't throw a lot of shade to Western's way. They kind of consider us little brother. But they were like, oh yeah, Western's doing great. They're going to the Big Apple, and they're going to play, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wow. I was really shocked. But it looks like we got Utah. Is that right? I guess I lost Jake. Well, anyway, looks like we got Utah, and go Tops as far as I'm concerned. You guys are doing awesome, and let me double check this. Sorry, guys, you're gonna have a little dead air here for a second as I try to find our schedule. As Western goes to the Garden to play, and I think it's Utah, and I think it's Sunday is when we play. Sad note, the girls got knocked out of the tournament, which, kind of sucks, but whatever. Things happen. But one of the things that KSR actually really bragged about the guys with was that they, and it really tickled me, was that they played at Oklahoma State and against a not favorable crowd. So basically, we got Boston College in the first round. Then we played USC, and then we went to Oklahoma State. And then the 27th, which is 5 days from now, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. So I think that's Sunday, we're going to play Utah, which is a 2 seed in the tournament. That's an awesome game. And actually, Western is favored 62.6% to 37.4%. Let's see if I can find Jake Man. So, anyway, let me see if I can get Jake back on the line real quick. Sorry, you're going to hear a lot of beep, 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 beep. So just, let's see. There we go. We are ringing it in. I know this is awesome, y'all listening to this ringing. Let's see if he messaged. Okay, guys. Looks like Jake is having some technical difficulties on his end. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to keep going. We're going to do this a little solo. So, what we're going into next, Jake's messaging me back on Facebook. This is great radio, and I know you all love listening to me comment on this kind of stuff. Is we've got Western. There's Jake's message. Western is favored 62.6%. Let me drop the audio real quick. 62.6%. And the switch back. Sorry, guys. This is awesome radio. Radio, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. Looks like we got Johnson leading us. Come on, you punk. Okay. Johnson and Thompson and Hollinsworth. Yeah. If I got a bet on this game, I would be flabbergasted. Let's see. Who else is in this? Come on, dude. This thing is awful. Anyway, guys, sorry. Western versus Utah, looking pretty good. Going to be Sunday night, I think, and the game starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's on ESPN, so that's another positive note for you. We are going to keep tweeting about that and keep going as far as our Twitter goes. Jake's great about that. Gotta love that he keeps us going in that direction. Gotta talk some quick March Madness awesome updates, because we've got a crazy March Madness going on here. We have, I think, the biggest upset in NCAA March Madness history, with Virginia being beaten by a 16 seed at UMBC. Not many people know about UMBC, which is 99% of the population in the U.S., but that was the greatest thing ever. I think 99% of all brackets were busted, except for those brackets that we informed our fans and listeners that you should create of upsets. And I'm sure, and I know everybody in the country looked over Virginia and said that Virginia should win that game. And they should have. They really should have, just, and then, of course, we got Cincy versus Nevada. I didn't think the Cincy game was that big of a upset. Between the two, Virginia's obviously the biggest upset. Of course, this is all in the same region, which makes it even better. Tennessee and Loyola Chicago. I'm pretty sure that none from Loyola Chicago is doing some voodoo, nun, Catholic stuff, Hail Marys, and cross signs to make the Loyola College win. I'm completely kidding, guys. Do not take that seriously. But sorry, this is really bad radio. Just informing Jake that I was going to keep going, and if he wanted, I can keep him in the loop as far as what we're talking about. Cincinnati, Nevada, that would have been a game that if you told me, hey, this is a safe bet, then I probably would have put money on it over the Virginia UMBC. And then, of course, we got Tennessee and Loyola Chicago. Then we got Tennessee, Loyola, Chicago. That was another game that I was really surprised at. And we had Loyola, Chicago, another game, not expecting it. And then Arizona, Buffalo. And, it's the first time in NCAA history where a 5 seed is the highest seed in their region. And that was Kentucky, of course. And that just blows my mind. And a lot of sports writers and people are saying, hey, Kentucky could go to the Final Four. Yeah, you're right. But everybody thought Virginia, Arizona, Tennessee, Cincinnati could have easily gone to the Final Four in their bracket. And so, as Coach Cal's been telling his team, don't drink the poison, or the Kool-Aid. It's a Jonesboro, not Jonesboro, that's in Arkansas. That's a Jonesville reference. But yeah, don't drink the poison, don't drink the Kool-Aid, guys. Don't think it's as bad as it can be, and don't think it's as great as it's going to be. As Lou Holtz has said before, reality kind of falls in the middle. Nothing's as great as you think it is, and nothing's as bad as you think it is. So just remember, the sun will rise tomorrow, as one of my football coaches said. And, somebody's going to win the tournament. And I'm hoping that the Cats get there. Just like I'm hoping that the Tops win the NIT. Secretly, guys, I'm not going to tell Jake this. He may hear this, just FYI, buddy. That if I was hoping that Louisville and Western would actually play for the NIT title game. I don't know if it's called the title game. The final game. Because I thought that would be hilarious to have 2 in-state schools playing for the NIT. Of course, then once I heard that David Padgett announced that he was being forced out, which should have happened. Jake and I have talked about this before. I was going to let him talk more about this being from Louisville, being someone who is from that university, that he could talk about it. But since he's not available, sorry, dead air. Being somebody that's from that school, I would rather let him talk about that. We get into it a lot, especially around the Patino incident, all that stuff. I am not as anti-Louisville as I used to be. I want to start off by saying that. I don't hate Louisville, and I want to clarify something else I said earlier. I said I pull for Louisville. I didn't say I cheer for Louisville. Pulling for a team is like when you see a score pop up and you say, oh, Louisville won. Cool. But you didn't watch the game. You didn't go to the game. You didn't support the team. You didn't do anything. You just said, oh, cool. Because in your mind you're like, okay, that's fine. They won. No big deal. It's not going to change my life anyway, But you're pulling for them. And that's how I feel about Louisville. I pull for Louisville because I've got family that obviously, in-laws and family that cheer for Louisville, and I have friends that cheer for Louisville, and obviously Jake's a family and friend, but still. And we've actually talked about David Padgett, and Jake wasn't anti-David Padgett as a person, but he was anti-David Padgett as a head coach at Louisville, as a Louisville basketball coach. And David, I think he did the best he could with what he had. Metaphorically speaking, I think he landed the U of L program on the Hudson. Yeah, I'm not calling him a hero by any means in that analogy, but I'm saying that the team was a great team. Was he over his head? Yes, by all means. Did he do a great job with what he had? I think he started off that way, but I think he had a few bumps in the road. Like, they should have beat Virginia for the ACC. I think it was ACC title game or in the ACC tournament. They should have beat Virginia. And I think if they did, they would have been in the March Madness. And I think we would have seen a different thing happen as far as David Padgett's firing. I don't see David Padgett going to another big university like Louisville. And yes, I am calling Louisville a big university. I think that he's going to end up at a Conference USA. Conference USA. I think he's going to end up at a Sun Belt or a smaller team similar to that. Maybe Conference USA. I mean, it's a possibility. He's 35 years old, and he just led the Louisville Cardinals, an ACC team, which is a mid-major. I mean, they're basically a major team. To the NIT. Now, should they have won? Yeah, but it's all part of it. It's in the end, it's a sport, and we love cheering for sports. But anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is that Dave, the sun will rise tomorrow, buddy. I think you're going to do great. I think you have a promising career ahead of you. And as far as speculation for coaches go, I've heard that Chris Mack is a possibility. I was hoping for Jake to get to talk about this because he follows Louisville sports a lot closer than I do. But I've heard Chris Mack, and actually we discussed it right before the show started. And Chris Mack, from what I heard on my Score app, was that Chris Mack was going to be the actual coach. Or that he was actually interviewing with Tyre, I think is his name, the coordinator or the AD at Louisville. But anyway, and then of course Jake said that story had been retracted. They weren't going to meet today; they were meeting tomorrow. But it's neither here nor there. I think it's a really big possibility that Matt could be. He's an Xavier alum. I think he's got a lot of possibility. I mean, Xavier's a good team. I think it could be a really nice rivalry with UK, and that's the most important thing for me, is ensuring that the rivalry lives on, because as much as I loathed Rick Pitino, he was great at making the rivalry. Walking out of Rupp and throwing the bird, how can you not love that rivalry? Rick Pitino walks out of Rupp, shooting the bird to the UK fans, which probably deserved it, just FYI. And you gotta love that, right? I mean, of course, everything that happened is I'm not talking about right now, but you gotta love it. You gotta love I won't say unsportsmanlike thing that happened, but you gotta love the fact that Rick Pitino was so angry after the game that he had to shoot the bird to the fans. So, let's see. We're talking Louisville. We talked Arizona. Chances UK wins tonight, I think they're pretty good. I've heard on KSR that the Kansas State is considered the chastity belt of the Pac-12, or the Big 12, or whatever they're called. Whatever that conference is. The chastity belt. Okay, guys, just think about that. That could be a hindrance for Kentucky. So I expect the game to be really low scoring. We'll just have to see how it goes. Predictions for the WKU game, which is more important to me, is I'm going to say Western wins. I'm going to say Western beats Utah. I don't know a lot about Utah, but I think Western they fell short a couple times this year, and I think that with Western, those couple little stumbles, I think they should have been in the tournament. Could they beat West Virginia? I don't think so, but it would have been a close game. West Virginia is notoriously good, and I don't think Marshall was there. I'm going to hate on the moonshine rivalry a little bit here. I don't think they were there. I don't think they were there to do anything against Western, and that's on them as far as I'm concerned. I think Western should have been in that game. Should have won the conference championship this year. I think next year they definitely will. I mean, this is the first time in 8 years we've made it to the NIT, and I think Western is going to be the team next year that's going to win the conference if we can keep these guys. If we don't, and they go to the NBA after and they become one and dones, that just becomes another marketing tool for Western. Hey, these guys went to the NBA, you can too, and that's just building on the promise that Western has to continue the strength that Western has, and just keep building the program. We get football coming back around this next year, get them back up to strong over. I'd say 8-4 guys probably easily. Get them up to 8-4, and winning the bowl game. Sorry, I went blank there for a second. Win the bowl game, and I think they can do it. And then get Western into the March Madness tournament the next year. And for a Western team to be successful, Western basketball team to be successful, I think we've got to go to the at least the Sweet 16. I think that's a good indicator. That's a good indicator for me that Western's good. I'd love to see an Elite Eight. Of course, Western did make it to the Final Four. Fun fact for you, back in the 60s. Of course, I wasn't even thought of back then. And that was when the late Jim McDaniels played. A lot of controversy there because the way the Final Four used to be played was that the four teams would have a round robin, and the best of the games went to the winner. And Western, I think, ended up second or third, and Western got thrown out, and it was removed, which it's still at Western if you go to Diddle. And Western lost all. It's kind of like the banner coming down for Louisville, because Jim McDaniels had hired an agent. So that's another thing, another sad part for Western. But some of us still remember it, I guess, some of the older fans. And just keep supporting it, keep loving it, and remember that the sun will rise tomorrow. Western is always going to be Western, maybe. I say that, but it's changed names several times, I guess. But, not point. Western will always be Western. We will always be red and white, hopefully. And Big Red's always our best mascot, no matter what that nun says. Which, by the way, Big Red versus the nun, totally taking Big Red. Because he would eat her. Because he eats basketballs and footballs all the time, right? But I'm going to go ahead and cut it short, since kind of lost Jake there about 15-20 minutes ago. And I hope you all don't mind my rambling. And I hope you remember to watch the game coming up on the 27th, which I think is Sunday. Let me check here real quick. No, that is next Tuesday. I am sorry. That's next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So, remember, ESPN, 7 o'clock Eastern next week. And always remember, guys, go Tops and go baseball, go softball, go spring football, support the Tops. These young student athletes are giving their best to play at the next level, and we should always be supportive of them because it's not easy for them, but we've got to support them, help them, keep them going. They see and they hear just like everybody else, and it's not always easy being them. So go Tops, and good night, guys.